All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Matty here from Chill TCG. We're back with our weekly, but also not so weekly meta analysis. Today, we're going to go and take a look at the past week of online tournaments and take a look at all of the successful deck lists that we saw over the last week or so. I think we're in about week 6 or 7 right now of the Chilling Reign meta. We're going to take a look at a lot of decks from last week's tournament, so we'll say that it's week 6 of Chilling Reign of this format. Soon we have Evolving Skies coming up soon. We're going to be doing a lot of different content, covering all the new deck lists, and of course, we're going to be running our weekly tournament series in this new Evolving Skies format. We're also going to be covering post-rotation a lot when that comes up as well. So I'm really excited. But before we get into the video, guys, don't forget to go register for Chill Series number 42. Insane that we're already at 42 of these. That's 42 weeks of Chill Series. But yeah, it's coming up tomorrow, actually, as I record this on Wednesday. We have over 300 people already registered. It's going to be a great tournament. 300 Chilling Reign packs in the prize pool. 100% free to enter. Anyone can play. And we actually are giving a full playset of Shiny Crobat V and VMAX to everyone who makes top 8 at the tournament. So it's going to be a really, really sweet event. Of course, top 16 gets prizing, and like top 128 will get points towards the invitational tournament, which is $2,500 cash. So definitely go and register for that. Link will be down in the description below. But anyway, let's go and let's see what we got to take a look at today for the last few tournaments. Let's take a look at some decks. I think the first thing that we want to take a look at, and we're just going to go for most recent down to the least most recent. Let's take a look at the Late Night Series number 1. This is a new tournament series started by Zach Lesage, my good friend. It is also sponsored by PTCG Ozone, and it's kind of like a partner event to Chill Series. It's a little bit later at night on Monday nights. And if you guys are in that time zone, or if you're available on Monday nights, I suggest that you go play, because you can actually earn points to qualify for the Chill Series Invitational through the Late Night Series here. So let's take a look. This was the first one ever, and of course it was won by Shintaro Ito, of course, an incredible player, world champion. From Japan. First of all, he was playing Urshifu Intellion. I think we're just going to go ahead and take a look at his list immediately. And we'll see a couple things here that are very interesting. Ice Rider is definitely a kind of a figured out archetype. Everybody knows what they're playing right now. We have the 4-4 lineup, Sobble and Shady Dealings Drizzile with 3 of the quick shooting Intellions. And actually one of the Shady Dealings Intellions. Now, I think that with Ice Rider Calyrex, most of the time you see the full Shady Dealings lineup. You don't actually see him playing or Ice Rider playing quick shooting Intellion. That's more of like an Urshifu thing. But Shintaro was kind of like, you know what, we're just going to do that. And that's how we're going to roll, and I actually quite like it. So we have 4-4-4 kind of technically. So that's 12 Pokemon in general. And then we're actually only running a 3-3 of the Ice Rider lineup. Typically, you would run like a 4-3 lineup, like most other decks that are using a V and VMAX lineup. But a 3-3 is interesting. But the most interesting thing here in this list, in terms of Pokemon, is going to be this Articuno. The single prize Articuno, this basic Pokemon. I forget the set it came out from. It might have been like Team Up or one of those Sun and Moon sets, but it's got a really great ability there, Blizzard Veil, I believe. And I'm going to click on it just so we don't get it wrong, so we can perhaps read it. So as long as this Pokemon is in your active Pokemon, your opponent, whenever your opponent plays a supporter card from their hand, prevent all effects of that card done to your benched Water-type Pokemon. This can mean a lot of different things, but really the main reason why we're playing this, and really the only reason, is so that they cannot boss up any of our Pokemon. You'll see back if we go to the list, all the Pokemon in our deck are Water-type Pokemon. So if we bring up this single prize basic Articuno, none of our other Pokemon can get bossed up, right? Your opponent cannot play boss's orders and bring up any of our benched Water-type Pokemon, which is actually really important. A lot of times this is going to be the win condition for your opponent, especially if you have like a 2-prize or a 3-prize Ice Rider that's damaged. It's one of those things where they can't bring that up and take the last 2-3 prize cards to win the game. So they kind of have to just go through the Articuno, and you're kind of forcing them, right, to take that 1 prize card KO. And that can actually help us a lot, right, because it works out with the math a lot of times that they have 1 or 2 prize cards remaining because they have to go through the Articuno. We can pop off the reset stamp here and stamp them to 1, maybe take a big KO with Ice Rider the turn prior. Or sorry, the turn thereafter, which is actually a really cool strategy. A very clever list from Shintaro. Everything else in here is pretty standard. I like the one of Tool Scrapper. The one Wash Energy is also kind of interesting. And I think let's just double check here. So Wash Energy, prevent all effects of attacks of your opponent's Pokemon done to your water Pokemon this card is attached to. And that actually seems a bit powerful as well. There's a lot of attacks with effects, I guess, at this point in the game. And yeah, it's just definitely interesting, right? I mean, it's a kind of a twist on Ice Rider, but something that you don't typically see a whole lot. And for that reason, I think it's a really cool kind of spin, a slight spin on Ice Rider. But Shintaro's a great player, so of course, even if the list wasn't super great, he probably would have done well. Not saying this list isn't great, it's, you get my point. But yeah, anyway, that's kind of 7th week Ice Rider right there, just coming at you. Aaron McCann made finals as well against Shintaro playing Eternatus. And I think we all kind of know what Eternatus looks like right now in this format. Nothing too surprising here. We got the 4-4-4 E-turns Crobat. We have a 2-2 Weavile lineup, 2 Moltres, 2 Yveltal, 1 Zigzagoon. Kind of everything that you might expect in Eternatus. Nothing too spicy in terms of the Pokemon lineup here. No Guzzlord or Hoopa or anything like that. Just the 1 Goon, which I do like a lot. Yeah, 4 Professor's Research, 4 Marnie, 3 Boss. We do have the Phoebe in here because Decidueye is still a thing. Samazenta, Luke Metal is still a thing. So, Phoebe with Palpad typically should give you what you need to win that matchup, although it might not be that great. Realistically, now that we have things like Weavile GX and Moltres V, which are pretty efficient attackers in their own right, things like Luke Metal and Zamazenta aren't that big of a threat, but either way, we still have 1 Phoebe and 1 Palpad. Should make that matchup a whole lot easier. And if you're playing E-turn right now, you have to run a high count of Chaotic Swell with all the Path to the Peak in play. It's really the main way that Shadow Rider and things like that can actually still beat you pretty consistently, or at least have a chance of beating you. So for that reason, we're going to be running high Chaotic Swell. That's our really the only way here to get rid of those Path to the Peaks, which we might be playing. Maybe that didn't work out for Aaron in finals here, going against Shintaro, who was running 4 Path to the Peaks, but you never know. Also, E-turn has a lot of bench sitters, so the fact that Shintaro was running 3 of the Rapid Strike Quick Shooting Intellions, and the Articuno, I mean, that actually, I can picture it now, how that matchup and the way that Shintaro built that list might have actually made that matchup more advantageous to him than normal. But Ice Rider and E-turn is actually a really interesting matchup because both decks really do similar things. Ice Rider just seems to do it a little bit more consistently right now than E-turn, but 2 phenomenal lists. And another thing I just wanted to point out, too, if we look at this top 16, right, we had Ice Rider, Rillaboom, and Shadow Rider. Who's this guy here? Who's this guy? Shout out to 16th. Yeah, I did play in the event. I played Shadow Rider. I was the only Shadow Rider in top 16. Because if you take a look, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 dark type lists in top 16. So definitely wasn't a great environment for me to be playing Shadow Rider. But, that's just kind of how it goes, right? The Urshifus were a little bit non-existent. So because of that, the dark decks kind of reign supreme. And that's sometimes just how the kind of variance works in the tournaments. But definitely pretty interesting. I think I want to take a look before we move on to another tournament. I want to go ahead and take a look at Anti here, Logan McKay. Great player, one of the best online players right now. And he was playing Spiritomb. And actually had a pretty good run. I think he made top 8 here with Spiritomb, yeah. And it's really a great list. And right now, I think that Spiritomb is in a much better spot than even it had been prior. And I think that not only being a single prize archetype, but being a dark type archetype really means that you should never lose the Shadow Rider matchup. You also have a pretty good matchup against just a lot of other archetypes as well. The thing is, Spiritomb is one of the harder to play lists. There's a lot of sequencing involved, a lot of different routes and cards that you can take. You got to play them all in the right order. One of the harder decks to play, but definitely has a really high peak, I guess, like ceiling, you know what I'm saying? So if you are a high-level player, or you have experience with Shadow Rider, I keep saying Shadow Rider, Spiritomb, you should actually be kind of, in a good spot to be pretty successful. We saw that in Players' Cup. We saw it here in this tournament. And I like it, and nothing here is a little bit too out of the ordinary. I mean, we're running kind of 2, Stellar Wish Jirachis. We have Marshadow Mew for Spiritomb. We do have double Ordinary Rod, which is important for Cape of Toughness. I like the Energy Spinner as well. Get those basic dark energies a little bit more consistently. Crobat, Dedenne, or Corio GX. You need double Ominous Posture Jinx as well. Definitely really good. 4 Scoop Up Nets, 4 Escape Rope, 4 Switch, 2 Bird Keeper. Everything you really need. And 4 Hiding Energy. So tons of switching options, but that's how the deck works. You put Spike Myth into play, you switch in and out a bunch of times, build up the damage counters on Spiritomb, increase its HP with Cape of Toughness, and now you're just hitting for big damage on a single prize Pokemon. And if you are going second against the Shadow Rider, you can oftentimes just kind of KO their active Shadow Rider or Gengaku or whatever gets stuck in the active spot on your first turn, which is really advantageous, and they really have to go through a bunch of single prize Pokemon. So it's a really great deck to be playing right now in this format. I'm surprised not more people play it. Spiritomb is I guess, more of what, probably one of the most expensive single prize Pokemon in the game right now. In terms of trading on PTCGO, but it is extremely good. It's a great deck. And if you have any Spiritomb experience or you think you might want to practice the list, I do recommend it. So anyway, let's go on to a different tournament. Shout out to Late Night Series. And scroll down. We're going to just take a look at some of the bigger tournaments, right? That's kind of just what we do here. Let's take a look at the Sunday Open with Atlas Collectibles. How many people in this one? 187. So definitely a good-sized tournament there. And this was won by Kyoto Okumura. And he was playing Dark Box. Let's take a look at Dark Box. We haven't seen it yet. It actually did beat Urshifu in finals, which is a little bit crazy to think about. But we do have 2 Mewtwo's in the list. And that's kind of all you really need. To have that slight advantage, perhaps, in the matchup. But, yeah, I mean, Dark Box, we've seen it before. We've taken a look at it a couple times. A list that I'm not super familiar with, but kind of like a standard Mewtwo deck. Mewtwo Dark was kind of like an archetype before Chilling Reign. People played it here and there, but we didn't have a consistent Dark-type energy acceleration engine. We had Hydreigon, which was really awkward. It was a Stage 2 Pokemon, basic Pokemon. It was just way too awkward to make this list that much more playable or really kind of put it higher up on the format. But right now, I mean, this seems to be maybe the most successful Dark-type deck in this Chilling Reign format. And of course, the reason for that is Galarian Moltres V. Moltres V did make E-Turn better. I do think that, but E-Turn has its own struggles, and I think that this list kind of benefits from Galarian Moltres V more so than E-Turn, perhaps, right? Because we're still running the Moltres Weavile kind of engine here. We have a lot of different attacking options. We've got Umbreon and Darkrai with the old Black Lance, and the Dark Moon GX, which is just insane. We have Greninja and Zoroark and Mega Sableye and Tyranitar tag teams, which are really great late game attackers. It's just one of those decks where Moltres is a great attacker in its own right. We can also funnel those attacks through Mewtwo, which is a Psychic type attacker. So realistically, just having a Psychic type and a Dark type attacker, 2 really good ones in your deck, it gives you just a lot of advantages than a lot of matchups. So again, kind of a higher skill gap deck. There's a lot of different things you can do. I do like the Sabrina and Bryson in this deck. That's just kind of interesting to me. We're running the Tag Call engine, so why not just run one? It could be pretty advantageous, so I do like that. Similar to why we're running one Malolana. They're just 2 pretty good cards. They're a little bit situational, but really could make the difference, so I like that. For sure. We're running like a 3 Sneasel, 3 Weavile, but 2 of the Rapid Strike Sneasel and 1 of the Dark type one, which is interesting. I'm not really sure why. Perhaps, yeah, I don't know. There might be a reason for that. I'm not sure. Maybe he only had 2 of the new ones, but who knows? Yeah, 4 boss, 3 red and blue. Red and blue is a great consistency card here to evolve those Weavile GXs, so you gotta love that. Research, yeah, Quick Ball, Tag Call engine, Pokecom, 2 Cherish Balls, 3 Air Balloons. That's our only switching out other than the Malolana, which is interesting, and then 2 Viridian Forest, which is extremely, extremely good. I don't think Moltres V is going to be as effective after rotation when we don't have Viridian Forest, and if you don't know, Viridian Forest allows you to discard a card from your hand to find an energy, and a lot of times you just discard a dark energy from hand to grab another one, and now we have that energy in the discard pile to use with Dire Flame Wings, and effectively it's just a +2 energy per turn, so really powerful for sure. But yeah, Dark Box, it's not super main. I mean, it is kind of mainstream now, but most people might be, if you think Dark deck, you might think E-Turn, but Dark Box seems to be the most successful list, these days, or Dark type list these days in this format. All right, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at who was this? ZC James. And he was playing Urshifu Intellion. Actually got second here, lost to Dark Box in finals, but made it all the way there with a lot of players in the tournament. And this is pretty standard stuff, I think, if we're running Urshifu. One thing I do want to note, I guess, is that we do also have that same thing that Shintara was running, where he has 4 Sobble, 4 Shady Dealings Drizziles, and then 3 of the quick shooting Intellions with 1 of the Shady Dealings. And I think maybe that is kind of just the norm these days. You have the option to find Shady Dealings Intellion if you need the double trainer card that turn. If not, we can just evolve into quick shooting. And I think that is definitely really interesting. We do have Passimian to slap down on the bench, increase the bench damage, done with Gmax Rapid Flow. Jirachi GX, turn off the weakness. Mew in here, I think, is actually really important, helps in the mirror matchup for sure. And I think that Mew is actually underutilized in a lot of archetypes right now. I mean, in Shadow Rider, you don't need it. You're kind of winning that matchup. But if you're a Dark type deck, why not just kind of run Mew? You can't run it in E-Turn, but Dark Box might really benefit from Mew. But nonetheless, definitely interesting. And yeah, I mean, I think that most of these lists are all pretty similar. I think the Ordinary Rod in here is kind of cool. One Escape Rope, one Tool Scrapper, one Energy Spinner, one Air Balloon, one Tower of Water. There's a lot of one-of trainer cards in the deck, but that makes sense, right? Because we can kind of grab them with Shady Dealings, so we have a lot more freedom to just run one copy of a certain trainer card in the list because, it's a lot more consistently searched out in a list like this with the Shady Dealings than it would be, if we were just running a normal list, right? With like Draw Engine, Dedenne, and stuff like that. If you don't know, Shady Dealings is really good. So you just evolve into that Pokemon with Shady Dealings, and then you can search your deck for a trainer card. That's on Drizzile. If you do it with Intellion, you can search your deck for 2. This deck likes to just kind of get a bunch of Sobbles on board, and every turn, evolve Drizzile, Intellion. And that's just a lot of trainer card, a lot of card search on top of things like the 4 research, 3 Marnie, and Dedenne, right? So that's just a lot of consistency thrown into a list like this, which is also pretty consistent in its own right. The one thing that I've noticed with Urshifu is at the start of Urshifu Intellion, you saw some people running like 1 Karate Belt, 1 Telescopic Sight. Telescopic Sight's really good, of course, because with Passimian on top of the Telescopic Sight, we can one-hit KO a lot of bench Pokemon with G-Max Rapid Flow. We can kind of double KO Dedenne, Crobat, things like that, which is extremely powerful. Definitely really good, but I think that it's a little bit too, it's more of a liability. And I think that just running double Karate Belt is oftentimes the best because setting up that first G-Max Rapid Flow is typically pretty easy, right? But the second one can be difficult because if we missed out on an attachment for turn, if we just aren't able to get, the 3 energy attachments on the Urshifu VMAX to Rapid Flow, we're oftentimes not going to be able to finish the game. And the Telescopic Sight isn't that important when we have 3 of the quick shooting Intellions and Passimian, right? It's just too much of one thing. So for that reason, I think running double Karate Belt, we can put Karate Belt on both our Urshifus, and then that way the second Urshifu after we get KO'd the first time is typically going to be just 1 Rapid Strike energy attachment away from finishing off the game. And it oftentimes works out like that, right? Because we like to take like 4, 5, 6 prize cards at once with Urshifu. That's what we do. So after the first one get KO'd, we're always going to be behind on prize cards. You know what I mean? Like that's how these matchups work when you're playing Urshifu. It's very much kind of like a comeback deck. So if you want both Karate Belts, you know what I'm saying? You want 2 because that's how we win the game. It's not doing the extra bench damage. It's making sure that we can get the second G-Max Rapid Flow off. You know what I mean? So this makes sense. But I really like this list, and I think that post-rotation, especially when Medicham V comes out, Rapid Strike Intellion Urshifu, a list almost exactly like this with a lot of things that are going to be missing because post-row, but realistically a list very similar to this is going to be the best deck or the most powerful, consistent deck in the format. And Medicham is a Rapid Strike fighting Pokemon, but it has the attack for 2 colorless energy, so just 1 Rapid Strike energy attachment. It does 20 damage to any of your opponent's Pokemon. But if you KO'd any of your opponent's Pokemon using that attack, you take another turn, like one after another. So that's another energy attachment, that's another trainer, another supporter, and another attack. So absolutely insane. Goes perfectly in this list with Quick Shooting Intellion and Urshifu. So absolutely insane realistically, and I think that's going to make Intellion Urshifu the best deck in the format when it comes out, to be 100% honest. I need water, man. I'm talking a lot. But yeah, so anyway, here it is. Urshifu Intellion, absolutely busted. And it probably will just get better. Here's a Decidueye. I'm not going to talk much about Decidueye. I'm not a big fan, but people are also running Shady Dealings Decidueye because it is that great of a draw engine. It makes things that much more consistent, and that's just how it goes. Things I like in here, Big Parasol, Tool Jammer, really kind of interesting inclusions. We do have the Mew, definitely necessary. The 1 Snorlax I like. Erica's Hospitality. So you'll notice this deck is almost entirely one-ofs, right? Like all of these trainer cards. 1 Cynthia Caitlyn, 1 Malolana, 1 Erica's Hospitality, 1 Rosa, 1 Palpad, Pokecom, Quick Ball, Energy Spinner, Ordinary Rod. It's all kind of one-ofs because we are running that Shady Dealings engine. And a deck like Decidueye, right, which typically you can have room for a lot of things like Level Ball, Evo Incense, Pokemon Search like that. It just makes sense to run Shady Dealings because it's a single prize archetype that lets you draw cards. It gives you a lot of freedom. So here it is, Modern Decidueye. We're also running 1 Water Energy in case we need to use the Aqua Bullet attack on the Shady Dealings Intellion, which I like. It's actually 120 damage. That's quite a bit. So maybe that is worth it. But only 4 Grass, 4 Capture Energy. So very consistent, right? You want to do what you want to do every game consistently. You're still going to win by the Deep Forest Camo Lockdown. Yeah, I mean, Decidueye is dangerous. It really is. I know that there's a lot of ADP toolbox going around, which typically does run Aegislash. You don't really see it in Luke Metal that much, but other decks don't have an answer, like Shadow Rider, Ice Rider. I mean, okay. All right. Let me back up. I mean, there's a lot of quick shooting Intellion engine stuff out there, and that typically, gives you some leeway against Decidueye because you can use those single prize Pokemon to do damage. But other than that, it's going to be kind of tricky to beat Decidueye. So it makes sense. 7th here in the tournament, and I think that's pretty cool. What's this? We have a Bronzong Box deck? I got to take a look at this one. What in the world is this? Yeah, so, I mean, it's Bronzong Box. This is kind of the main engine that we're using, and that's what the deck is based around. But it's kind of, it's ADP in a sense where we only have one in the deck. It's not entirely necessary. It's kind of like an Aurora Box, Bronzong Box deck. I don't know. Came out with Bronzong and Battle Styles, but it was never really like fully fleshed out or played a lot, I don't think, until Chilling Reign, when it was a little bit more viable, because we do have things like Galarian Zapdos V, which really changed like the whole thing around. We didn't really have a great basic V attacker that was fighting type up until Zapdos. And that was a kind of a big hole because last format E-Turn was so good. So it makes sense. Right now it's somewhat playable. Of course, we have Aurora Energies to kind of fill in the colored energy attack cost for all these Pokemon. Like E-Turn and Crobat, Victini, Zapdos. All these things have the respective energy type in their attack cost, but the rest of them are colorless energies, which we will fill in with the metal energies, right? So we have Metal Saucer to accelerate those energies to things like Azacian, and then we can move those over with Bronzong. I like the one Ditto in here as well. It lets us transform into any of these V Pokemon that are in our discard pile. So say we needed, double Zapdos, we're playing E-Turn. Like after the first one gets KO'd, we can use Ditto to transform it back into Zapdos and then just have 2 of them, but that works with any other Pokemon in our list. So I like that because in double Zamazenta is a lot of times just kind of a win condition. Double Zapdos, double Victini, things like that can be actually really, really good. So it's interesting. XP share is also interesting. The Amazing Rarization is very interesting as well. Kind of just a strange list, but again, a little bit more roguey, but rogue-like deck list, but of course did pretty well, and definitely I can see why. Will a deck like this become the best deck in the format? I don't know. It definitely could, at some point, especially like late post-row when we have a lot of V cards and we have a lot of different options. It kind of does make sense that something like this might become absolutely really good, but I think for right now it is still a little bit lower tier, but awesome nonetheless. Shout out to Danuat Wanta. Shout out to that dude. And however you pronounce your name, I apologize. I guess we can go ahead and take a look at the Australia TCG Misty's Collectibles. Okay, and as soon as I say this, we actually have a Bronzong Box winning this tournament. So we got to take a look at it. We'll take a look at this one. It's pretty much the same list, actually, except instead of the Victini, we have the Ninetales. I do like that, though. I do like that. Because the Ninetales to me seems to be a little bit more of a better attacker in a deck like this than the Victini. Victini's a better support energy acceleration Pokemon. If you have fire energies in your deck, Ninetales is kind of a better attacker. But yeah, here it is. I mean, it ended up winning, so it won the day prior. So absolutely insane. Zeester, what an animal. And here it is. A lot of times I think you probably just end up going like ADP, right? You're going to go like typical altered, Ultimate Ray or Altered Creation GX. If you get that Ultimate Ray off, we're kind of rolling, right? Because then we can just set up Zamazenta or Zacian or really any of these other attackers. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the best starting point in a deck like this is to just get Altered Creation GX attack off. Then we just need like 2 KOs for the rest of the game. We're doing increased damage, and we're going to accelerate energies with Ultimate Ray if we can get it off. So there's a lot of synergy here. I do like it. I do. This deck does not like Path to the Peak, I don't think, but we do have 1 Mars Shadow and 1 Chaotic Swell, so maybe that's not that big of a deal. Again, like all of these Pokemon have abilities, like every single one of them other than Eternatus and Ninetales. The E-Turn is funny. You might be like, why is there just an E-Turn V in the deck, not a VMAX? Well, I mean, realistically, we have Dynamax Cannon on this E-Turn V, so I think it does like 220 damage to a V or VMAX Pokemon. Plus, after the ADP boost, that's 250. And you're a dark type, right? So, I mean, you don't even need the ADP boost, but for only 1 dark energy and then 3, I guess, other energies, which would probably be metal, we're kind of rolling, and we can one-shot some Shadow Riders. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. Probably better than Moltres, which would take 2 dark energies, right? That's the main reason why we're running E-Turn, because it only takes 1 of the dark energies. But anyway, absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Let's take a look at Renhan. Renhan? He was playing Shadow Rider. We have to take a look at a Shadow Rider. And this seems to be the exact list that won Chill Series last week. So this tournament was after Chill Series. It kind of makes sense. But yeah, I mean, this was what Diamond King used in both Chill Series and GG Tour. It's the same list that I actually used at the Late Night Series and in an IRL local event that week. And it felt really good. And I think it just has everything it needs to right now. I think actually I took out Cresselia because it just doesn't seem that necessary. And I guess I'll go into it right now. But yeah, I mean, we have 4/4 Shadow Rider, 2 Dedennes, which you might be like, well, you have like Path to the Peak and Dedenne. How's that work? But we're running 2 Mars Shadow and 2 Ordinary Rods. So like we should always be able to get rid of Path to the Peak if we don't need it there. Because Mars Shadow is searchable with Fog Crystal. Everything else in here, though, was pretty normal. 4 Quick Ball, 3 Evolution Incense, 2 Switch, 3 Air Balloon, 1 Reset Stamp, 13 Energies, 2 Rod, 1 Alcremie lineup, and 1 Gengar Mimikyu. Now, for me personally, I don't think Cresselia is that necessary. If you go and watch the last Chill Series Grand Finals match, Diamond King never used Cresselia, and I don't know if it's ever actually that better. My reasoning for that is if you are going second in this list, if you're playing Shadow Rider, you want to go first. That's just how it is, I think. But if you do go second, Cresselia is, of course, with Crescent Glow, a really good option to go second. But in my opinion, I think just going Gengar, Mimikyu, Horror House GX is always the better option going second than Cresselia. Yes, with Crescent Glow, you get +3 energies that turn, and that is definitely really good. But is it actually better than just getting a whole extra turn? You know what I mean, if you think about it. Because with Shadow Rider, like, we want to get these Vs on board, right? We maybe want to get an Alcremie on board. We just want to set up our board state. I think that having a whole extra turn after Horror House GX, especially giving us the option to Poltergeist the next turn, is better than on your first turn going second, Crescent Glowing, and just having +3 energies on board. Because the energy attachments and the energy acceleration isn't that big of an issue with 4 Shadow Rider VMAXs or Adornment turn 2. So for that reason, I think that just Horror House GX on your first turn going second for 1 energy is better than Cresselia. I guess it is that backup option. So now if we do find ourselves going second and we can't find the Gengar Mimikyu or its prize, we do have another backup option. Makes that deck list, or this deck list, that much more consistent when you're going second, I suppose. But personally, I didn't play Cresselia in the list. Now, post-rotation, we're playing Cresselia, and we're going to be running like a 2/2 Alcremie lineup. It's just going to be like... it's gonna be like old classic Welder with Volcanion, just getting tons of energies on board and then just kind of hitting for crazy damage with Alcremie turn 2 or turn 3. Yeah, I mean, here it is. And right now, this seems to be like the most played or most accepted Shadow Rider list. It's got a little of everything. I think Path to the Peak is actually really good. And realistically, right, we have 2 Mars Shadows. And if we're playing like an Ice Rider who's running 4 Path to the Peaks, you know, we can Mars Shadow it away, Rod that back, Mars Shadow away, Rod that back, and then Mars Shadow it, Mars Shadow it. So, I mean, we have 4 Mars Shadows to work with. This deck list draws a lot of cards. And realistically, like, you find yourself in a lot of times where you have, like, Research or Dedenne in hand. But you also, with Ordinary Rod, so you don't want to discard the Ordinary Rod. But a lot of times, what you want to do when you're playing this deck is make sure you prioritize getting a Mars Shadow on your board. And a lot of matchups, that's really possible with 4 Quick Ball, 4 Fog Crystal, and just 2 in deck. But yeah, here it is. It won Chill Series. This list won Chill Series this week, and it also got finals at the GG Tour tournament, which we'll take a look at as well. What else? I guess let's quickly take a look at Luke Metal. We got to go quicker, though. We got to go quicker. So I apologize for that. Here's Luke Metal. Nothing crazy. Tag Call Engine, 2 Chaotic Swell. He's running 2 Capture, 1 Coding Energy. You don't need to run Coding. Don't do it. I don't think it's necessary. Run an extra basic. But yeah, Tag Call Engine, 4 Zacian, 2 Luke Metal, 2 Zamazenta. If you're a Luke Metal player, this is it. This is the deck, I guess, for you this week to take a look at. Nothing's really changed. It's just Luke Metal. You can throw Aegislash in there. I've seen a couple Decidueyes this week in this video, but altogether, probably not super necessary. Okay, we got a Blaziken's Aurora. Okay, we do. So let's just pop it up. So for reference for most people. And it is kind of Rapid Strike box, and for that reason, you know, it makes sense to run the Passimian, the Quick Shooting Intellion, Shady Dealings Engine, with Blaziken's Aurora, Telescopic Sight. We're destroying bench Pokemon with this list, and that's really what it's all about. I like the Tapu Koko Prism Star, Accelerate the Energies. Cobalion GX is really interesting. It just Iron Rule kind of gives us that extra turn. I actually like that. I do. It's like a worse Horror House GX in a way, right? But it's 1 colorless energy, so it fits in any deck. And I do actually really like Cobalion GX. This is actually a really interesting list. I know a lot of people really like Blaziken's Aurora. By the way, there's 4 Rapid Strike energies. You can't see it, but they're there. A lot of people loved Blaziken's Aurora. It was like a tier 2 deck at the beginning of the format, and then people realized it wasn't, so now it's just complete rogue status, but very fun, and I think that if you are going to be playing Blaziken's Aurora right now, Rapid Strike Box, this seems to be kind of the best way to play it. Things might change after Evolving Skies with Sylveon coming out and some other Rapid Strike Pokemon like Medicham, but realistically, I mean, I think this is actually really, really cool, and I like it a whole lot. I really like it. Might have to try it out. Might have to play it. So yeah. There you go. All right, just so we could put that one in the video at least. And I think that we're going to go to a different tournament now. And now I think that the place that we're going to go is going to be the $1,000 GG Tour Chill TCG Showdown. Last week we did run 2 tournaments. We ran Chill Series on Wednesday, GG Tour on that Saturday. And this was where we had 424 people. And everyone who played got 2 Chilling Rain packs, which is absolutely insane. But it's very different to the late night series, which we just saw, where top 16 was like almost all dark type decks. Now it's like all Shadow Rider and Ice Rider, you know? So it's funny how that works, but that's just kind of how things go sometimes. Angel Aranabar won, so let's take a look at his Shadow Rider list just for comparison. It's the same list, so never mind. But yeah, anyway, it's actually funny. So Diamond King won Chill Series with the list, made it to finals 3 days later with that same list, but lost to Angel, who was playing the same list that Diamond King used to win Chill Series 3 days prior. So that is actually really funny. Like I said, if you're playing Shadow Rider, that's kind of the way to play it right now. We did have David Hendrickson also playing Spiritomb. And what else can we even take a look at here? I mean, this is all just like the same stuff. It really is. I guess we get... Okay. Let's take a look at a third Shadow Rider. This one's got the 2-2 Alcremie lineup with 2 Gengar Mimikyu. Which is interesting, actually. So it's definitely got an emphasis on the Alcremie, which I think is cool. We have 2 Marshadow, but we're not running Path to the Peak in the list. So it's one of those things where if you kind of want to play more defensive and more kind of teched out, Shadow Rider, you can't play Alcremie. But if you are playing the 2 Alcremie, that oftentimes will increase your matchup against Dark-type decks, things like Eternatus, Dark Box, etc. So for that reason, I think that does have its merits. Definitely a lot more similar to what a post-rotation list is going to look like, excluding, of course, Dedenne, Gengaku, Marshadow. So maybe we're going to be running Crobats, Cresselia, and I don't even know what this other option would be. Probably another way to kind of draw some cards. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, everything else in here is going to stay. So there you go. Anyway, Alcremie. Cool. Very cool. What else, though, can we take a look at? Did we take a look at ADP Moltres? We took a look at the ADP box, but I don't think we ever took a look at ADP Moltres. So this is just ADP Toolbox, which has an emphasis on Moltres. That's kind of how people are playing ADP these days, right? It's not smart to run like 3 or 4 Zacians. There's other options right now. You need better options. I mean, I think that you still want to run like 2 Zacian, but Mawile is a pretty efficient attacker in its own right. But you want Metal, Dark, and Fighting. So that we can, of course, hit for weakness on Shadow Rider, Ice Rider, and any Dark-type deck with the Zapdos, which would probably be E-Turn or things like that. We're also taking extra prize cards, gives us some backup against those single prize archetypes. We can tech Aegislash in here to pretty much auto-win Decidueye, so there's a lot of things you can do with ADP Toolbox. I know a lot of people are pretty confident that this is still the best deck in the format, but personally I think that Shadow Rider is just too consistent, too dominant, and just too powerful realistically to be kind of shut down by a list like this, even though it is ADP with Moltres. I just think that you have Path to the Peaks, you have Alcremie. There's a lot of things that you can do to kind of get around this matchup. And ADP has its consistency struggles, and if you don't go first and you don't get first turn Alter Creation GX's attack off, if you are going second, your first turn going second, then you're going to struggle against a Shadow Rider who goes first and perhaps, Whorehouse GXs you into like an Alcremie, VMAX KO. So, that's kind of how it goes. But here's ADP. This is what people are playing these days. I incidentally actually built this list yesterday, IRL, because I wanted to play it at a local tournament. But definitely super cool. Maybe it's one of those things that you can change around a lot. Echoing Horn's really good, but I don't know if it's actually that great right now. 3 Viridian Forest is very necessary. So here it is, ADP. This is what people are playing these days for ADP. Definitely kind of cool. My phone went off. Let's take a look at a Cinderace VMAX just to end it here. Is this the guy himself? It is. It's Red Hung. Red Hung is literally like the only dude playing Cinderace ever. And I think he always plays Cinderace, but he actually does well a lot of the time. And so he's just like the sole representative of Cinderace. Whenever we take a look at Cinderace VMAX, it's Red Hung. And he's a great player, and Cinderace isn't that bad. Like, people, it's funny because this is the only fire type deck that people are playing in the format right now. That doesn't mean it's like high tier or anything, but it is actually quite decent. You know, we have Cinderace VMAX as the attacker, which is good. We have Heatran GX, Ninetales. We do have a Volcanion if we're going second. We also have Evil Admonition Hoopa, which can really turn the tides of any Shadow Rider matchup as well. Marshadow, Mew, or Choreo. It just has a lot in it, but really we're just going to be using the those really consistent attacks with Cinderace. It's a welder deck, dude. I don't know. I'm not a fan of welder decks, but I am a fan of Red Hung and his Cinderace list. So there you go. Definitely interesting. Definitely interesting. Anyway, guys, I've talked for about 35 minutes straight. My voice hurts, but hopefully you guys enjoy these weekly videos. I know that they're actually fairly well received. I don't know if you guys like listening to me talk this whole time. I don't know if that's why you watch the video. Maybe you just watch so you can see all the most successful lists over the past week. Maybe that's interesting to you. I don't know. But links to all of the exports. So, like, if you want to copy the lists and just paste it into PTCGO and try it yourself, the links to all of those are going to be down in the description below for each deck that we took a look at today. So you just click that link. There's like an export button. So you just click that. And then you go to PTCGO, and then you import deck list, and boom, it's all right there for you. So links to all of them are going to be down in the description below. Also, link to register for Chill Series 42 is going to be down in the description below. It is tomorrow. 340 people already registered. Make top 8, get Chilling Rain packs, get free shiny Crobat play sets. Also qualify for the $2,500 cash invitational tournament. I highly recommend it. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here. I might do a deck profile tomorrow. I might upload, like, a profile of that Shadow Rider list because it's been so successful recently. But, yeah, we're going to get out of here. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe. Click join if you want to be a channel member. It's like $2 a month to support me and Chill Series, so consider that as well. But, yeah, we're going to get out of here. Peace out, guys. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys tomorrow or next week or in 2 days. I don't know. We'll see if I'm busy. I don't know. All right, guys. You guys have a great day. We'll see you guys soon. Peace out.